Senator, as you often speak of the 39 million Americans who wake up in poverty every day, many of us in the churches and faith-based organizations, for us this is a gospel issue. As you know, changing this is a biblical priority. So we are wanting to make a specific commitment to cut poverty in half in the next 10 years as a beginning. As president, how would you mobilize the nation and take concrete steps to accomplish that goal?
I've committed actually to an agenda of eliminating poverty over the next 30 years. I think it's a completely achievable agenda. There are lots of components to that agenda: making work pay, having a living wage, making sure that workers can organize themselves into unions, having decent housing for families that don't have it, having true universal health care, helping kids be able to go to college, which is why I started a College for Everyone program for kids in a very poor section of eastern North Carolina. And I believe this is an agenda that should be the agenda of the President of the United States. This is such a part of my life that whatever happens in this presidential campaign, as long as I am alive and breathing, I will be out there fighting with everything I have to help the poor in this country. I can promise you that.
As you know from your organizing days, the poor are trapped in poverty, but they're also trapped in our debate over poverty, both sides blaming the other. You are one who's called for new ways of doing politics. The old answers aren't working, they're failing. If you were the president, what kind of moral and political imagination would you bring to finding some real solutions, and try and give us some specifics?
I think our starting point has to be based on the notion that I just expressed, that I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that we are connected as a people, that when, as I said in my speech at the Boston Convention, when there's a child somewhere here in Washington, D.C. who is impoverished in a crumbling school without prospects and hope for the future, then that impoverishes me. If there's a veteran in Chicago that's foraging through a dumpster because he's now homeless, because we did not provide him the services that he needed after he had served our country, that diminishes all of our patriotism. So the starting point is that I've got a stake in other people. My starting point as president is to restore that sense that we are in this together. That's the starting point. And faith informs that. My moral commitments to that vision of what Dr. King called a beloved community grows out of my faith.
In an age in which there is oftentimes narrow and excessive individualism, how will you speak to our country about the need for sacrifice, restraint, when it comes to the critical issues of taxes, gun control, health care, and energy consumption?
I think you can sense how we are attempting to try to inject faith into policy and also to elicit from people a sense of our common humanity. Take health care. I think we could get almost unanimous agreement that having more than 45 million uninsured people, 9 million of whom are children, is a moral wrong in America. And I think we could reach that agreement, and then we would have to start doing the hard work of deciding what we were going to do to make sure that they were not uninsured. Because an uninsured person who goes to the hospital is more likely to die than an insured person. I mean, that is a fact. So what do? We have to build a political consensus, and that requires people giving up a little bit of their own turf in order to create this common ground.
Finally, a better conversation about faith and values. We've had a very narrow, restricted conversation, as if there are only one or two religious issues.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because I think it's been a bifurcated conversation, it's been a narrow conversation, and this is part of a larger event, this forum tonight. Last night we had this, we had a revival last night, and half the crowd was like under 30, and we had a powerful Hispanic evangelical preacher, and he started with the words of Jesus, the first words of Jesus. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. Now, Soledad, that is a religious issue.
We'll see how the conversation goes on.